Testing, testing. I actually think anyone can unmute themselves. Actually, wait. Unmute. But let's give it one more minute and we can just start. Let's see. So I'm gonna just start in a second. And yeah, thanks for joining. I think you guys could actually chat in the little chat box. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, you could just chat in the little chat box on the right. So just give it one more minute and then I'll just share my screen. And then we can hopefully get started. And feel free to ask questions along the way. All right, let's share my screen. Press share. And let's get started. So I hope you guys are all here to see how we can actually analyze text. And so I'm going to be talking about the Gavagai Explorer, a system that we've developed at Gavagai. And basically, let's just start with the Excel sheet. So let's just double check everyone, if everyone can hear me, and let's just check the chat. If you want, feel free to type here. Yeah, so let's just get started. So here is an Excel file of hotel guests. And basically, hopefully this Excel file should look similar to something that you guys have. So basically each row is a kind of open-ended text response, and people are writing something to answer some kind of survey or give some kind of feedback. as you can see here, we actually scraped a hotel. Well, basically, this hotel is closed, but these are hotel reviews. And you can see here, people are writing in how people would sort of wanted to write. So we could see here open-ended text, long answers, short answers, spelling mistakes, slang, and so on. Now, the whole point of collecting a survey is to figure out what people want to talk about. Now, of course, we could sit here and read all the reviews, but that's not why you guys are here. You guys are here to see how our tool can handle this. So basically, you just need an Excel file, and you go to the Gavagai Explorer, and you log in, of course. Actually, at the end of this, I'll show you guys, everyone can actually log in and try it out themselves. And just one other quick thing before I show you guys how to create a project is that this will go on for, I'll speak for like 20 minutes. And then actually we can just ask questions after. So let's create a project. And we could actually drag and drop our Excel file, or we could use this little sample file here. So let's call these hotel reviews for March. And let's analyze the review column, because that is where the open-ended text is. And you notice here, it's going to be in English. We support 46 languages. So let's click Explore. And it's going to start. And now one mention before I click the dashboard to look at the results is that when the system read all the reviews are being read by the system, and it finds what we call topics. So topics are something that, sort of sound like what it is. So if you were a person who read the reviews, you would find a lot of different topics from the hotel reviews. But here's an example that really demonstrates why it's so important to have language understanding. So if you read the reviews, and in the reviews, someone said something like, the staff was really nice. Well, obviously, to you and I, the reviews are talking about the staff. Now, if you have another review, and that other review is saying something like, the employees are pleasant. Well, staff and employees are both talking about staff. And you know that because you understand English or language. And so when our system analyzes text, it's doing something like a person. It's not looking at spelling or how something is spelled, but it's looking at the meaning and creating these kind of topics. So let's click View Dashboard, and it's going to load the dashboard. Let me close this, close my email, close that. Okay, so let's load the dashboard here. Here is where we'll see several graphs. Now, here, I think, let's just start with this one. We see here the occurrence grade matrix. So what is this? Let me move here. We see here a lot of topics. These are the bubbles that are represented on this graph. Now, what this is telling us is on the x-axis, or left to right, is how often a topic is mentioned. So we see these different bubbles here. And now on the y-axis is something a little bit more complicated, is when this topic is mentioned. If your survey has some kind of grade or net promoter score, it's the correlation between the topic and that score. So let me just remind you here, if we go to the other tab, remember each review had a different grade that the person actually left the hotel. They wrote some kind of review, and then they left a 1 to 5 score. So in this case, if I click staff, the system found that 59% of the reviews are talking about the staff. And when they're talking about the staff, the average grade is 4.35. So what that means is, instead of looking at the grade of the entire survey, which is actually 4, what we're doing is we're looking at only the reviews that are mentioning the topic staff and looking at that average grade to find the correlation. If we go back, we can actually see that there are some topics that are really high on the y-axis and some that are really low on the y-axis. we call these important topics. So when, for example, people are mentioning the topic wine, the grade is about 10% higher than average. Or, for example, when people are talking about renovation, the grade is actually 18 or 20% lower than average. And we can click renovation, and we can see it's actually mentioned 25% of the time. And again, when people are mentioning it, the average grade is actually lower. Now, if I worked at this hotel and I was the insights person at this hotel, of course, that's not surprisingly, I know my hotel is under renovation. However, what we are doing is we are quantifying from the survey results. That is, how important is it to our customers that we're going under renovation? Well, it turns out that, well, quite high, 25%. And when they're talking about it, it's negatively impacting our satisfaction score. If I scroll down, if we had a column for dates, we could see the topics and sentiment over time. But the last point I want to mention here is the topics related to renovation. That's basically when people talk about the topic renovation, what other topics are they speaking about? We can see here, restaurants, clothes, breakfast, and so on. So in this case, it turns out that the hotel's restaurant is under renovation. Now, again, of course, if I worked there, I would know that. But I don't work there. And what's really powerful is that we are getting this from open-ended text, using our system to do text analysis. So let's click back, and there's a button at the top called Advanced Modeling. Let's click this. And now let's just quickly talk about what exactly is a topic. How does the system even make these topics? Well, on the left-hand side here, we see some topics. Now, here we see some topics, Kimpton hotels, rooms, and so on. But let's focus here on the left-hand side. I'll come back to the right-hand side in a second. Here we see the topic rooms, and we see that 76% of the mentions or the reviews are talking about the topic. Well, if I click this little sidebar here, you can see that when the system you can see up here, 2 seconds, read all 130 reviews, it found different terms that were about the room topic and clustered them together to make this topic room. Now, something I want to point out here is the suggestion. For example, room service is spelled with the word room. But notice it's not inside the topic room. And that's because we are looking for the meaning. And our system is quite smart. So if you had a system of doing text analytics and you just looked for the spelling room, well, unfortunately, you would flag all the reviews talking about room service, which is here, as about the room. And that would be wrong. Now, just to show you another example here, we can see the topic staff. And you see it found staff, but it also found employees. Which, I mean, it's not even spelled like staff. And in case you're wondering if the system can understand spelling mistakes and slang, it can. We see here San Francisco. We also see San Francisco misspelled. And we also see some slang, Fran, San Fran, and SF. So the system can handle spelling mistakes and slang as well. Now, if I was the actual analyst, I would go through each of the topics and check the topics. And basically by choosing terms that you want inside your topic by selecting suggestions or removing terms. So for example, here we could add suites or quiet room. And now we're beginning to modify our topic room. And if I click update and save, we're now saving our, we call it a template model for this project. So I can save that, but before I do, just one last point, you can actually make your own topics. So if you want to make your own topic here, let's say, for example, you work at this hotel and you know it's under renovation, so you start giving out free pastries. And you want to see how people talk about the topic pastry. Well, you could actually here add your own topic, and instead of trying to guess all the different ways people talk about the pastry, you could click Get Words. And here you see muffins, pastries, baked goods, croissant, and scone. So what does that mean? Well, the system, it read all 130 words or reviews and checked for things talking about the pastry. Here you see the breakfast was always fine and we enjoyed a light breakfast every morning of a bowl of fruit together with a choice of bagel, toast, or croissant. So this person, they didn't even talk about the word pastry. They just used a type of pastry, which was croissant. And just like a person, the system found croissant, and now we have it in the topic pastry. So I'll click Update and Save, and now we'll get our new statistics about the topics that we just modified. Let me just check if we have any Q&A. No open questions. Feel free. This one, if you ask them, you can ask them anonymously if you'd like, or you can ask them in the chat if you'd like. And actually, while we're going here, feel free to answer this quick poll of 2 questions. Yes. So let's go here. The poll is just to see how you found the webinar. So let's look here, and now what we scroll down, we can actually see here the topic pastry that we just made here. And now if I go back to, oh my gosh, there's so many windows. If I click View Dashboard at the top, we can actually see the dashboard with the pastry topic that we just created. And you can see here, I can click pastry, and it turns out that 20% of reviews are talking about the topic pastry. And when they're talking about it, the average grade is 3.46, which means that it's actually not helping our customer satisfaction. It's not correlated with helping. And if I click back and I scroll down, we can actually do some comparisons. So just to remind you, in the data set we just uploaded, we see here that basically there was only one metadata column of grade. Well, we could actually use that in our comparison graphs. So let's add a grouped comparison for the topic staff, let's say. So what we want to do is we want to compare staff and how often people talk about staff. And basically, what we're going to do is see how often people talk about staff by what grade they gave the hotel. And what you're seeing here is that 50% of the 5s are talking about staff. And that's indicating to me, if I was the hotel manager, let's say, that our staff is doing a really good job. Because otherwise, if they weren't, you would see a lot of 1s and 2s and 3s talking about staff. But again, this is a nice correlation. So maybe your staff is really bad, but that would be weird that a lot of 5s are talking about it. So thanks for answering my poll. Let's just end that. Okay. And now I can just show one more graph. We can look at, for example, how people talk about the rooms. So for example, we're curious in, I don't know, absolute numbers, or we can do percentage as well, of how often people are talking about the rooms and what grade they gave the hotel. And you can see here, there's nice trend upwards of people talking about the rooms. And let's do a last one about people talking about the pastries, the topic that we just made in the advanced modeling. So let's choose pastry as a topic and figure out how often people are talking about the pastry. And we're going to see, for example, what grade they gave the hotel. And so it's about the 3s or the 4s are mostly talking about the pastries. You can see here the 5s, not so much. Okay, so let's just recap here. Basically, I took this Excel file with very specifically a column of text open-ended data. And basically, we're uploading it to the Gavagai Explorer. We get a list of topics. And then from those topics, we can modify those topics as we'd like or add our own topics. And then from those topics, we get some results of basically the topic occurrence, the related topics to that topic, and the average grade if you have a quantitative score or average grade score. And also we get the sentiment for the topics, which I didn't mention here, so I'll mention it right now. For the topics, if you go into the advanced modeling page, we actually do sentiment analysis on 2 levels of the data. So the first level is, if we see here, rooms, the first level is on the topic level. So we see, again, 77% of the texts are talking about the topic room. And actually, here you see that 84 of the text, there's sentiment detected. So what that means is sentiment detection is basically checking the text itself if the topic has some kind of sentimental or emotional language for the topic room. And then we actually do sentiment analysis on the entire text itself, and we can check the entire text verbatim, and we can show the project sentiment summary. And you can see here most of the texts are actually generally positive, and that's quite nice. So yeah, I see someone asked a question. This was a quick kind of run through of the Gavagai Explorer. So now I'm gonna pause for some questions. It's a little weird, to talk to myself. I'm sorry you guys can't. Everyone can't all talk, but I guess we could unmute everyone or something. But I'll try and answer questions as they pop up, and yeah, I think we can try for that. So can we apply this to Google My Business review comments that we see when we search a small company on Google webpage? Maybe it's related to sentiment, but let's say we need analysis to find problem and improve our business issues. Well, in this example, we had the Excel file. This Excel file was the TripAdvisor hotel reviews. So this is like if you send out a survey and you get the results in an Excel file. However, actually, if you don't have that Excel file, what you can do is you could scrape reviews, and we have a function to scrape reviews. So let's say you have here you say Google My Business review comments. Well, actually, we can retrieve data from many sources. Here, you can check it out yourself, and you can click this link, but it turns out, yes, we even support Google reviews. So what you would do is you would write in, let's say you want the H&M New York City store on 5th Ave. Then you would press scrape data, and then you would actually get the data from in an Excel file that you could actually use to, here you see Google Play Store reviews. Let's see if we have any Google, seems like a lot of Play Store reviews, but actually you can analyze Google trip reviews. You just have to use the scrape query. Yeah, and the instructions are here, or the search string in Google that will show the Google business you would like. And basically you scrape the data, And you would get a CSV file with the reviews inside a column called reviews. And then you would use that to analyze the text using the Gavagai Explorer. Yeah. So let's see if we have any comments. I mean, type 1 if you could hear me. Hopefully you guys can all, hopefully everyone was able to hear me and I wasn't just on mute. That would be embarrassing. Yeah. So does anyone have any questions? Or I mean, I can just talk more about some of the different features of the Gavagai Explorer, or I mean, it would be up to you guys, because I'm here for, we have this for like another half hour. Okay, it's a bit quiet, so I'll just mention more of the Gavagai Explorer then. Okay, let's go back. So let's see if we can close this stuff. Okay, so here we're logged into the Gavagai Explorer. If I log out, we're on the Gavagai homepage, gavagai.io, Gavagai.io. So everything I showed you, you can try for free. You don't need a credit card, whatever. You can just click login. And if you click this small button called register, and everyone can try it for free. You can upload your own Excel file with your own text data to try it out, or you can use the sample file, and the sample file doesn't use any credits if you just try out the sample file. And yeah, so let's log back in just so now everyone knows you can try it out for yourself for free. Let's log back in. And let's go back into our project with the hotel reviews. Let's update and save. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the sentiment analysis. So for example, here we see the topic room. And we can see people are quite positive and happy about room. We can get some text examples, of course. And here we see some text examples. Positives: clean, modern, fairly stylish room. Our room, though small, was nicely decorated. Room was comfortable, nicely appointed. Room was very stylish and cozy. And so these were all flagged as positive about the topic room. And what's really cool is actually here you see some related topics to the topic room. And if you click show related topics on the left-hand side, you can see that actually here, the related topics like clean, small, comfortable are related to the topic room. Oh, we have a question, sorry. Explain this is just curious if there could be positive talks that might not. Okay, thank you. Okay, great. So this left-hand side here is the list of topics the system found. And as I showed you guys, you could add your own topic if you'd like. However, if we scroll to the bottom, what we see here is that there are actually 30 topics. So let's just say there was another topic that people didn't really talk about, but maybe some people did. Well, it would be like this question says, it would just be uncovered. Well, what you can do is just change your settings, the settings at the top, so that your settings for the number of topics, you can change it from 30 to 60. So that way you uncover more topics. And actually there is a setting here, and you can see that it's called, sorry, there's a setting to actually check how often all the reviews are covered by a topic, which I guess I have that setting turned off, but let's just show you how to do it. Let's go to settings. Yes, and here is the number of topics returned. You can change that to 60 if you'd like. But here is if we should analyze coverage. So what that means is, if we save the setting, is that when we look at how many reviews, in this case there are 130, are covered by a topic. So that means to say, if there are some reviews that are not covered by any topic, that means that that review is talking about something that basically almost none of the other reviews are talking about. So they might have some kind of uncovered topics. So here, if I scroll to the bottom, you can see here unclassified. It turns out that the top 30 topics classify basically every single review. Now, the first part of this question is, how does it decide that room is a topic? Well, let's go back to room. It just decided that because it found so many terms that were so similar to room, like living room and quiet room, that when it was clustered together, the topic room was so large. So in this case, the top 30 topics are ordered just in frequency. So it just appeared as very frequently, and then it just appeared on the list. Hope that helped. Cool. Where was I? Okay. I was probably talking about sentiment for rooms. So yes, here we see the topic rooms again, and we see the sentiment for the rooms. And if I click show related topics, we see here related topics to the topic room. In this case, clean, small, comfortable, and so on. And again, this is from raw text data. So what we are doing is we just found some great KPIs to track from the hotel reviews. And let's say we do want to track them. Well, next time, instead of having to choose all the different terms that you'd like and building your topic, you can actually just pin the topics you care about by making them pink. And if we update and save it, we can actually save it as a model. So like I mentioned at the start, when we are modifying our topics and basically creating a model off of this project, we can save this template model and apply it to a new project. So for example, let's say April comes along and another 130 reviews come along. We want to consistently compare March versus April with these topics. Well, you save it as a model, and then you apply the template model here in hotel reviews for April. And then that way, the exact way you built your topics with the terms that you chose inside your topic will be applied to the next month. Yeah, and that's a good feature as well. So for example, you can do it in a time series, or you could do it in like a similar vertical. So let's say this is the New York hotel and you own a San Francisco hotel. Well, what you would do is you'd save this model and then apply it to the New York hotel. And then what you would begin to see is the comparison between how the New York customers talk about staff and rooms versus the San Francisco customers talking about staff or rooms. And then what would happen is you can compare the different topics with the different occurrence, the related topics, the topic's average grade, and the sentiments. Yeah. Check if anything in chat. Yeah. No. Cool. Cool. Yeah, so, I mean, I've talked a little bit, and yeah, maybe I could just unmute you guys since there's only 2 other people here. Beep, beep. So, I mean, if you wanted to talk, feel free to talk if you'd like. Yeah, so don't have any other, I mean, I could keep going if you'd like, but I just want to check if you guys have any questions. No? Disable talking. Allowed to talk. Unmute. Mutes. Okay, well. So let's just keep going then. So let's go and click View Dashboard. Okay, and let's say we are actually the hotel analysts, and we're in charge of the customer insights and making sure our guests are happy. Well, what's really fun is that just uploading the text, we can actually see that wine is performing quite well. So if I click wine and I click it again, we're brought to the wine view, and we see that it occurs 38% of the time. So what it's showing us is people talk quite often about the topic wine, but what is really cool is that when they're talking about it, the average grade is much higher, 4.44 as according to 4. If I scroll down, we can see here the topics related to wine, and it's the hour, the rooms, free, evening, and so on. And so it just so happens at this hotel, what they're doing is they have a wine hour, and everyone is invited to try the wine. But I just wanted to point out what's really cool is that from the text data, we can actually compare and see things. So for example, at this hotel, we also try to give out pastries to alleviate guests for the issue about doing bad renovations. But when we click pastries and when we look into it, it turns out that it's not really helping our guest satisfaction. It's just sort of they give us pastries. And we can also see the text examples. People say the pastries were good, and they might be happy, or they might be a little negative about the pastries. Here you see the breakfast pastries was tasty, and here you see the breakfast service laid on to try and compensate was poor. Now, we can actually see that in aggregate, just looking at all the reviews talking about pastry, the average grade was 3.46. So it might not be helping as much as, for example, the wine and giving out wine at the happy hour. So that's really something cool that the hotel analyst can go back and say, hey, boss, we can just save money on the pastries and let's just do wine 1 hour earlier or something like that. And they could try that and collect the hotel reviews And then from those hotel reviews, what they could do is they can see the difference and measure the difference and see if it actually increased or decreased customer satisfaction. Okay, so yeah, so let's pause it there. Let me just check if anyone has any other questions. Nope. Hi, I checked out the other solutions listed. Would there be a separate webinar to go over those offerings? Well, we just chose the hotel example since it's such a generic example that everyone can understand hotel. I mean, people understand, you know, rooms and guests and staff and so on. But if you want to have a kind of personal web demo, you know, just talking to one of us, then feel free to actually just contact sales@gavagai.io, or there's a button called request a demo on our website. But if you have a question right now about a separate solution, in this case, we talked about hotels, but if you want to ask a question about other ones, feel free to ask it now. But no, we don't have a separate webinar for every single other vertical we have. Simply because since we do text analytics, it turns out that, I mean, every company has a lot of text. So it's pretty cool how the system can help vary pretty much every vertical. Even weird ones that you think it wouldn't be able to help, like pharmaceutical or medical purposes. Check the chat. Nope. Yeah, so, I mean, let's just go to our website and let's just look at our solutions. And we can see here, well, turns out we covered quite a lot because, like I said, everyone has customer feedback and lots of text data. Here we see automotive, healthcare, banking, retail, consumer electronics, services, software, telecom, HR and employee, fast-moving consumer goods, and travel and hospitality. So we can actually talk about one if you'd like. I mean, you could just choose retail and e-commerce, I guess. We can just quickly talk about that. So here is an example. When you're shopping and you are a customer for one of these, let's say, retail brands, and what you end up doing is you leave a review. So here is a write-up of basically when we scraped about 500 reviews about H&M. And here we're actually showing you how you can use the Gavagai Explorer to analyze basically what people were talking about this H&M on Fifth Avenue in New York City. And we can see things, basically topics, and how these different topics basically impact the grade or the Google review 1 to 5 star score, and how the different topics occur and so on and so forth. So we can actually click and we can look at the dashboard that this one has. And here we're actually, we just jumped into the dashboard for H&M. And similarly, we can see the grade insights. So for example, what are the important topics? And here we can see that, for example, staff is not doing so well. But here we can see the register is really something not so helpful for H&M. And if I click it, luckily it only occurs 3% of the time, but we can see over time, the topic and sentiments over time, it's decreased quite a lot over the years. But you see here, when people were talking about the topic register, the average score was 3.14 as opposed to 4. If we go back, you can see here, for example, price. 16% of the reviews are talking about price, and actually quite often over the years, you can see that people are talking about it quite a lot. And that's nice to find from the text data. So I mean, everyone, or not everyone, but people think of H&M and they think about the kind of value that they get from the clothes, and it turns out it's reflected in the actual text data that, well, almost 1 out of 5 people talk about the price. And when they talk about it, they give quite a high grade. So that was an example of an, let's go back here, retail solutions. So on our solutions page, I mean, you can see that we have quite a lot of different examples. So that's nice. Yeah, so on the topic modeling approach through LDA methodology. So let's go here. Let's go back to, this doesn't hide. I can't see my tabs, sorry. I can't, it's blocking my tab, hold on. There we go. So could you kindly elaborate on topic modeling approach? Yeah, so it's actually, let's go back here. We see the topic room. Let's go back and talk about the room topic. So let's go back. What is the topic room? Well, the topic room is the 7 terms collected that are green. You see that are like green boxes that basically describe or are kind of synonyms to the room itself. So we see here suites. If I click the question mark, suites generally included, the junior suites, and upgraded to one of the junior suites. So there are 3 reviews, basically that, or 2 reviews that were talking about the kind of hotel suite. And obviously suite is not kind of spelt like room. Now, what we have done is we've collected suite under the topic room because it sort of is talking about like the hotel room. So when we're doing topic modeling, what we're doing is we're just selecting terms that basically talk about the topic itself. If I go down here, for example, staff, we can see that it found staff and it found employees. We didn't modify any of the suggestions, but let me find a nice example here, Union Square. You can see here it found Union Square, but it also found different suggestions like financial district or Chinatown or Fisherman's Wharf. And if I was the hotel analyst, I could actually select all of these suggestions and rename this topic as tourist destinations. But instead, right now it's Union Square because the system, I mean, it can't read the analyst's mind. But essentially, the topic modeling is just simply choosing the terms that you want to be in your topic. You don't have to do any fancy coding or programming or any machine learning stuff. Basically, you just click the terms that you would like. I hope that helps answering your question. But actually, LDA methodology, sorry, I didn't see that part. Can you elaborate with the acronym? I think I might know what acronym you're talking about, but I just wanted to make sure. Latin derelict. Okay. Yeah, it's an example of topic modeling. So if I go back, oh gosh, this big block, I can't. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. So what was the kind of, I'm just double checking, modeling. Yes, I haven't talked about that in a while. I haven't seen that in a while, but no, essentially you can just choose terms. You don't have to worry about the hard coding or so on, or Python or TensorFlow or any machine learning, because it sort of assists you and makes these suggestions for you. So that's just the topic modeling. It's just clicking, basically. I hope I answered your question. And maybe I didn't, so I'm just gonna double check. Yeah, this is the probabilistic type. Okay. Nope, in this case, let's go back to the hotel reviews. In this case, if the term appears in the actual text, then actually the review is classified as talking about that topic. You can see here, 33% of the reviews are talking about Union Square. Yeah. Yeah, we have like 10 more minutes. So yeah, thanks for just joining me. I hope no one is sick from Corona and such. I'm actually working from home. I don't know. Yeah. Actually, I think I unmuted you guys, so you could talk if you'd like, since there's only 2 people here. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, and actually, again, feel free to sign up for free and try it out yourself, because I mean, I could talk about how great the tool is, but it's better if you just try it yourself.
Can you notify us for the next product webinar if you have in the future?
Yeah, so it's actually just scheduled once a month. So if you'd like to join for the next one, feel free
Oh,
to join, or you can always just contact us on the website and you can ask for a personal one. And if you have your own data and you'd like to see a kind of personal webinar on that, of that kind, like your own actual data, then oh my gosh, I'm coughing. Then you can sign up for free and try it out, and then you can say, hey, I want some help with my own data, and we'd be more than happy to help.
and can we apply this product to Instagram, Facebook, and the other social media comments?
So in that case, I showed the scraping method,
Yeah.
the scraping tool. It can sometimes scrape these websites. However, these websites obviously don't want their data to be accessed super easily. So sometimes they make it really hard to scrape the website. So we can sometimes scrape Facebook and such, but essentially, as long as you have the Excel file, if you somehow get the Excel file, then you can upload it to the system and analyze those reviews.
So without CSV, there's no online solution. Can we say like that?
Well, there
At
are
least for
tools
now.
out there. There are tools out there to like scrape Facebook, but because Facebook is actively trying to stop all of the tools from scraping them, it's like a cat and mouse kind of game. So in our scraping tool, you can see here. Let's clear this. Stop. If we go to our projects, you can actually see in our. My pleasure. Thank you, Andrew Lim. So here you can see scrape data, and we do support Facebook, but sometimes it doesn't work. Here, actually, someone just tried to scrape Facebook just now. So yeah, sometimes it works, but I mean, Facebook really tries hard to make sure that it doesn't, you can't get it.
Okay. And if you have a video that explains your product in detail, can you share with us via email, our email?
Yeah, actually, you could just check out our website because here at the top, when you go to gavagai.io, at the top, there's a little button called support. And there are a lot of different explanations and a lot of different things for our tool. And actually, if you're super interested, you could watch the 2-minute video. Let's scroll to the bottom here. Sorry. If we scroll to the bottom, you can see that we have our YouTube channel. And on our YouTube channel is all of our videos. You just want to watch the videos.
Okay, sorry, I asked these questions because I'm very new to your product. Just I met with your product today in the morning. So I'm asking too many questions. Sorry about that again. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm here to talk about our product. Oh, we have one more Q&A. One quick question. Could I ask, how should one use the living lexicon? Well, that's a kind of weird advanced question. So let's go there. Lexicon. This is actually the secret brain behind the Gavagai Explorer. So when we looked at the topics, for example, the topic room, and it saw that room service was a suggestion, and room service was not actually inside the topic room. Okay, how did it know that? Well, that's because of the Gavagai Living Lexicon. It's sort of like a really smart 12-year-old. It just reads millions of documents on the internet every day, and it basically begins to understand language. So if we say, okay, I don't know why that was one of them, but let's try room service. Okay, so when we look up room service, what ends up happening is it queries this idea of room service, and it checks in its let's say brain or language brain, what room service is related to. So let's check it. And basically the lexicon, you don't really use the lexicon in itself, but you use it when you use the Gavagai Explorer, because that's how it understands. And okay, that's embarrassing. There is an application error. Sorry, Andrew. But basically it would give a list of the kind of related terms to room service. And that's why room did not include room service inside of it. So yeah, so basically you don't really use living lexicon, but when you use the Gavagai Explorer, this living lexicon is how it understands language. And you can see here that it's all 46 of them, which is really cool. Yeah. Might be sensitive. Could I ask what is the living lexicon learn against? Well, I can answer that one too as well, is that basically it's just a fire hose of the internet. It just reads documents off of the internet, and that's how it goes. Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately it's not working. Let's try it one more time. Actually, here we go. Actually, it loaded. We see here, semantically similar, 3-course, special set, happy hour. So these are all kind of things that the system thinks are related to room service. Slight variations, gym membership. I don't know why it thinks like that, but basically it just, yeah. In-room, complimentary, laundry service, valet parking, and so on. So you can see here that it understands that the hotel can give these different kind of things like valet parking or laundry service and room service. But notice that there isn't really like a room or living room or hotel suite under these semantically similar ones. Yeah, so, I mean, it's been a quick hour. Thanks everyone for joining. Arzu, I hope I said that right, and Andrew Lim.
Yes, thank you for your time.
And yeah, and again, feel free to sign up for the trial for free. You can sign up, or feel free to email us if you have any other questions at support@gavagai.io or sales@gavagai.io, whichever one you want to email. Yeah, so that's about it, I guess. That I've said as much as I think I should say, and yeah, cool. Okay, so I'll just stop this call, and hope everyone had a nice Thursday. End meeting.